Throughout history, humans have been captivated by tales of extraordinary cities, places where civilizations flourished beyond imagination, only to vanish into legend. From the sunken kingdom of Atlantis to the spiritual sanctuary of Shambhala, these stories reflect our deepest aspirations and fears, offering glimpses of human potential and the fragility of greatness. In this series, we'll embark on an epic journey through 10 of the most fascinating, mythical and historical cities. Each story invites us to explore not only the mysteries of these lost worlds, but also the lessons they hold for us today. Whether they were real or imagined, these cities challenge us to dream of what lies beyond our grasp and to question the boundaries of history, mythology, and reality itself. Imagine a city so advanced that its wonders eclipse the achievements of any civilization, before or since. Its people harnessed nature's power to create a paradise on Earth, living lives of extraordinary sophistication. But with all their greatness came fatal arrogance, and in one cataclysmic moment, their legacy was swallowed by the sea. This is the story of Atlantis, a civilization that lives on in legend, challenging us to imagine what could have been. The tale of Atlantis reaches us through the words of Plato, one of history's greatest philosophers. Writing around 360 BCE, Plato introduced Atlantis in two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, as an allegorical account of the dangers of moral and political corruption. Plato claimed that the story originated from the Egyptian priests of Sais, passed to the Athenian lawmaker Solon, and eventually to him through his family lineage. Atlantis, according to Plato, existed over 9,000 years before his time, a vast island empire located beyond the Pillars of Hercules. These pillars, thought to be the Strait of Gibraltar, suggest Atlantis was situated in or near the Atlantic Ocean. Yet its exact location remains speculative, and its description opens a window into a society as captivating as it is elusive. Plato's descriptions of Atlantis paint a breathtaking picture of its geography and urban design. The island itself was massive, rich with fertile plains and surrounded by mountains, celebrated for their number, size, and beauty. At the heart of Atlantis lay a series of concentric rings, alternating between land and sea, engineered with precision to create both a defensible structure and a stunning aesthetic. The central ring housed the royal palace, a sprawling complex of shimmering orichalcum, a mythical metal Plato describes as second only to gold, ivory and precious stones. The Temple of Poseidon stood atop the Acropolis, a towering structure where Atlanteans worshipped their sea god. Inside, the walls were inlaid with gold and silver, and a colossal statue of Poseidon driving 6-winged horses dominated the temple. The outer rings were bustling hubs of commerce and activity. Markets teemed with goods from every corner of the known world, brought by fleets of merchant ships. Atlantean harbors brimmed with life, their docks filled with vessels laden with treasures, spices, textiles, metals, and exotic animals. From this vantage, Atlantis commanded not only the seas but also the imagination of all who encountered it. A day in Atlantis would have been a sensory overload of sights, sounds, and experiences that few modern cities could rival. Farmers tended vast fields, using advanced irrigation systems to produce bountiful harvests. Engineers operated sophisticated aqueducts and canals that distributed fresh water throughout the city. In the bustling urban centers, artisans carved intricate sculptures, wove exquisite fabrics, and forged tools and weapons of unparalleled craftsmanship. Scholars gathered in academies, their discussions ranging from mathematics and astronomy to philosophy and governance. Atlanteans were also believed to possess knowledge of energy sources unknown to us today, technologies that powered their world in ways we can only theorize. Festivals dedicated to Poseidon provided moments of unity. Citizens would gather to honor their deity with music, dance, and sacrifices. These celebrations were not merely religious. They reflected the Atlanteans' deep connection to their environment and their gods, a connection they believed brought them prosperity and power. Despite their achievements, the Atlanteans' descent into hubris marked the beginning of their end. Plato writes that they became greedy, prideful, and obsessed with expanding their dominion. Their once just kings turned to conquest, launching campaigns that sought to subjugate neighboring lands, including ancient Greece. The gods, angered by their arrogance, decided to destroy Atlantis. Plato's account is chilling in its brevity. In a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis disappeared into the depths of the sea. Many modern scholars speculate that this description might be inspired by real events, such as the volcanic eruption of Thera or a massive underwater earthquake. These natural disasters could have caused tsunamis and land subsidence, obliterating any trace of an advanced civilization. For centuries, adventurers and scholars have searched for the lost city, driven by its allure as both a myth and a potential historical reality. Some researchers propose that Atlantis could have been situated near the Mediterranean, citing the ruins of Santorini and Crete's Minoan civilization as evidence. Others look to the Atlantic itself, theorizing that underwater formations near Bimini or submerged landmasses off the coast of Spain or the Azores might hold clues. Archaeological discoveries like Göbekli Tepe, which predates Plato's timeline, have also expanded the realm of possibility. If advanced societies could exist that far back, could Atlantis have been one of them? Skeptics, however, maintain that Plato intended Atlantis purely as an allegory to critique Athenian politics. The fascination with Atlantis lies not only in its mystery, but in what it represents, the idea of a perfect society undone by its flaws. This duality makes it a timeless metaphor for human ambition and vulnerability. From Renaissance thinkers like Francis Bacon, who envisioned Atlantis as a utopian model, to modern films, books, and video games, the lost city continues to inspire. But Atlantis is more than a story of collapse. It's an invitation to imagine what civilizations could achieve when they harmonize with nature, embrace innovation, and uphold moral integrity. Whether Atlantis was real or a product of Plato's imagination, its story endures as a beacon of possibility and a warning against the perils of excess. Deep within the uncharted rainforests of South America lies a tantalizing mystery that has lured explorers to their doom and sparked tales of unimaginable wealth. El Dorado, a city of gold, or perhaps a man, a king, or even a ritual, represents the ultimate dream of boundless fortune. But what lies behind this legend? Is it a mere fantasy, or does a glimmer of truth shine through the stories? The legend of El Dorado originated from the accounts of Spanish conquistadors in the early 16th century. As the Spanish Empire expanded into the Americas, they encountered indigenous peoples whose customs and treasures sparked their imaginations. Among these was the tale of a gilded king, a leader of the Muisca people of what is now Colombia, who would coat his body in gold dust and perform a sacred ritual at Lake Guatavita. The story, first relayed by indigenous guides, described how the Golden One would be covered in gold, sail to the center of the lake on a ceremonial raft, and cast gold objects and jewels into the water as offerings to the gods. To the Spanish, this was no mere ritual. It was evidence of a society with vast wealth, a treasure trove waiting to be claimed. The initial fascination with El Dorado as a man soon transformed into an obsession with finding a city or kingdom of gold. Explorers like Gonzalo Pizarro and Francisco de Orellana led perilous expeditions into the Amazon in search of this fabled land. They faced dense jungles, hostile tribes, disease, and starvation, often with disastrous results. One of the most infamous expeditions was led by Sir Walter Raleigh in the late 16th century. Convinced that El Dorado lay near the Orinoco River in present-day Venezuela, Raleigh sought both treasure and glory. His journey ended in failure, but his writings fueled further speculation, perpetuating the myth of a golden city hidden deep within the jungle. Modern historians and archaeologists have largely debunked the idea of a literal city of gold. The original accounts, they argue, were rooted in the Muisca's spiritual practices. The golden offerings at Lake Guatavita were part of a religious tradition, symbolizing the Muisca's reverence for their gods and their deep connection to the natural world. The lake itself became a focal point of the search. In the 16th and 17th centuries, attempts were made to drain Lake Guatavita to retrieve the treasures supposedly lying at its bottom. Some gold objects were recovered, including intricate figurines and ornaments, but the vast wealth the Spanish imagined remained elusive. The Muisca civilization, central to the El Dorado myth, was an advanced society with a rich cultural and economic life. They were skilled artisans, creating intricate gold and emerald jewelry. Unlike the Spanish, they valued gold not as currency, but as a medium of spiritual expression. Muisca settlements were organized around a network of trade routes, with agriculture forming the backbone of their economy. Fields of maize, potatoes, and quinoa stretched across their lands, while their religion emphasized harmony with nature. Gold was seen as a divine material, a conduit to the gods, which is why it played such a central role in their rituals. El Dorado's allure lies in more than just gold. It represents the human desire for utopia, the ultimate prize just beyond reach. For the conquistadors, it symbolized redemption for the grueling hardships of exploration and conquest. For modern audiences, it's a reminder of the lengths to which people will go in pursuit of dreams, no matter how unattainable. The search for El Dorado also exposes the darker side of human ambition. The Spanish quest for wealth led to the exploitation and destruction of indigenous cultures. Many lives were lost, not only among the Europeans who ventured into the jungle, but also among the native peoples who were displaced or killed in the frenzy for gold. Though the literal city of El Dorado has never been found, the myth continues to inspire. Archaeologists and adventurers still comb the Amazon and Andean regions, uncovering remnants of lost civilizations that might have contributed to the legend. Recent discoveries, such as the ancient city of Ciudad Perdida in Colombia or the geoglyphs of the Amazon, hint at complex societies that could have been mistaken for El Dorado by early explorers. Scientific tools like LiDAR are transforming our understanding of these regions, revealing hidden cities and networks beneath the dense jungle canopy. While these findings may not be the golden metropolis of legend, they enrich our knowledge of pre-Columbian civilizations and the diverse ways humans have interacted with their environments. El Dorado's story transcends its origins, appearing in literature, film, and popular culture as a symbol of boundless possibility. It represents the ultimate what if, a tantalizing dream that continues to inspire exploration and imagination. But perhaps the true treasure of El Dorado lies in its lessons. The story invites us to question our definitions of wealth and value. To the Muisca, gold was a sacred substance, not a commodity. Their rituals remind us that the greatest riches may not be tangible, but spiritual. A connection to the divine, to nature, and to each other. High in the Himalayas, beyond treacherous mountain passes and hidden from ordinary eyes, lies a kingdom untouched by time, a place where wisdom flows like a river, and enlightenment is said to be the ultimate treasure. Known as Shambhala, this legendary paradise has captivated spiritual seekers, adventurers, and scholars for centuries. But what is Shambhala? A real location, a spiritual metaphor, or something more profound? The legend of Shambhala originates from ancient texts central to Tibetan Buddhism, particularly the Kalachakra Tantra, a complex teaching that combines cosmology, astrology, and esoteric practices. These texts describe Shambhala as a hidden realm of perfection inhabited by enlightened beings. Its name means place of peace or source of happiness, reflecting its role as a sanctuary of spiritual purity. Shambhala is said to be ruled by a line of wise kings known as the Kulika or Kalki. These rulers are not merely political leaders, but spiritual guides, ensuring that the kingdom remains a bastion of enlightenment. According to prophecy, the final king will lead a great army to defeat forces of ignorance and usher in a golden age of wisdom for humanity. Descriptions of Shambhala place it in a verdant valley, surrounded by snow-capped mountains, protected by barriers of ice and mist that prevent unworthy travelers from entering. The kingdom is said to be perfectly symmetrical, with a central city, Kalapa, radiating outward in geometric harmony. Kalapa, the heart of Shambhala, is depicted as a city of immense beauty and spiritual resonance. Golden spires rise against the blue Himalayan sky, while crystalline rivers weave through lush gardens. The people of Shambhala live in exquisite homes adorned with jewels, surrounded by an abundance of food and resources. Yet, material wealth is of little importance. The true treasure of Shambhala is the wisdom of its inhabitants. To imagine life in Shambhala is to envision a society devoted entirely to spiritual practice, compassion, and harmony. The people of Shambhala are said to live extraordinarily long lives, their physical health mirroring their inner balance. Education is universal, and children are taught from an early age to cultivate mindfulness, kindness, and wisdom. Meditation and study dominate daily life. Scholars debate profound philosophical questions, while monks engage in intricate rituals meant to align the individual with cosmic forces. The air resonates with the sound of sacred mantras and the hum of prayer wheels, creating an atmosphere of profound serenity. Technology in Shambhala is thought to be advanced, but unlike the industrialized world, it exists in harmony with nature. Ancient texts describe machines that run without harming the environment, reflecting a society that has mastered the balance between progress and sustainability. For Tibetan Buddhists, Shambhala is not merely a physical location, but a state of consciousness. It represents the pinnacle of human potential, a place within each of us where enlightenment can be achieved. The journey to Shambhala is thus both external and internal, requiring physical perseverance and spiritual transformation. The Kala Chakra Tantra teachings emphasize that only those who have cultivated the proper mental and spiritual qualities can find Shambhala. The hidden kingdom serves as a metaphor for the inner journey of awakening, a reminder that the path to enlightenment is arduous but ultimately rewarding. The search for Shambhala. Throughout history, explorers and spiritual seekers have tried to locate Shambhala. The kingdom is often associated with the mystical region of Shangri-La, popularized by James Hilton's 1933 novel Lost Horizon. Many believe it lies in the Himalayas, with specific locations suggested in Tibet, Bhutan, Nepal, or even Siberia. In the 20th century, Shambhala captured the imagination of figures like Russian artist and mystic Nicholas Roerich, who conducted expeditions to Central Asia in search of the hidden land. His accounts describe conversations with monks who spoke of Shambhala as both a physical sanctuary and a guiding spiritual force. Modern interpretations extend the idea of Shambhala to include places of spiritual refuge in our troubled world. Some suggest that Shambhala could manifest wherever people dedicate themselves to compassion, wisdom, and the betterment of humanity. One of the most intriguing aspects of Shambhala is the prophecy of its final king. Tibetan texts predict that when the world is engulfed in chaos and moral decline, the 25th Kalki king will emerge from Shambhala with an invincible army. This battle, described as both physical and metaphysical, will end with the triumph of enlightenment over ignorance, restoring harmony to the world. This prophecy resonates beyond Buddhism, echoing themes of a savior or messianic figure found in other religions. Whether taken literally or symbolically, it highlights Shambhala's role as a source of hope and renewal for humanity. Shambhala continues to inspire spiritual seekers and creatives alike. It serves as a reminder that the greatest journey is often inward, requiring perseverance, humility, and a commitment to higher ideals. Its story invites us to reflect on what we value and how we can create our own versions of Shambhala, spaces of peace and enlightenment in our daily lives. In the mists of medieval Britain, there is said to have been a shining beacon of chivalry, wisdom, and heroism. A court where knights upheld justice, magicians wielded arcane power, and a legendary king sought to unite a fractured land. Camelot, the seat of King Arthur's reign, has enchanted storytellers for centuries. But what lies beneath the romanticized tales? Was Camelot ever real, or does its magic lie in what it symbolizes for humanity? The story of Camelot emerges from the Arthurian legends, a collection of tales blending history, myth, and folklore. The earliest mentions of Arthur appear in Welsh poetry and chronicles, but it was Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the Kings of Britain in the 12th century that cemented Arthur as a legendary king. Camelot itself was popularized by French writer Chrétien de Troyes, who described it as the central court of King Arthur in his romances. Later authors, such as Sir Thomas Malory in Le Morte d'Arthur, expanded the legend, portraying Camelot as a utopian kingdom where justice and virtue flourished. Camelot was more than a castle. It was a thriving city where knights, nobles, and commoners lived under Arthur's just rule. Its centerpiece was the Grand Round Table, where Arthur's knights gathered as equals. The table symbolized fairness, unity, and the rejection of hierarchy, a revolutionary concept in feudal times. The city hums with activity as knights train in the practice fields. Merchants sell their wares in bustling markets, and scholars study under Merlin's tutelage. Music and poetry fill the air, with troubadours recounting tales of Arthur's exploits and knights embarking on quests for honor and glory. The court itself was a blend of grandeur and mystery. Tapestries depicting legendary battles adorned the walls, while corridors echoed with tales of enchantment and prophecy. Arthur's closest allies, Merlin, Guinevere, Lancelot, and Gawain, added depth and drama to Camelot's story, each embodying different facets of loyalty, love, and betrayal. Camelot is often described as the birthplace of the chivalric code, a set of ideals that emphasized courage, honor, loyalty, and the protection of the weak. Knights of the Round Table swore oaths to uphold these principles, embarking on quests that tested their character as much as their strength. The most famous of these quests was the search for the Holy Grail, a sacred relic said to grant eternal life and divine wisdom. Knights such as Galahad, Percival, and Bors pursued the Grail, facing trials that required not only physical prowess, but spiritual purity. This quest symbolized the ultimate journey of self-discovery, embodying the ideals of Camelot itself. Magic and mysticism were integral to Camelot's legend. Merlin, Arthur's enigmatic advisor, wielded great power, guiding the king through visions, prophecies, and arcane knowledge. The sword Excalibur, gifted to Arthur by the Lady of the Lake, was imbued with mystical qualities, granting its bearer the right to rule. The Isle of Avalon, where Arthur's sword was forged and where he was taken after his final battle, adds another layer of mystique. Avalon represents a liminal space between life and death, reality and myth, a fitting counterpart to Camelot's magical aura. The historical basis for Camelot, if any, remains elusive. Some scholars suggest it may have been inspired by real locations such as Caerleon in Wales, known for its Roman ruins, or Cadbury Castle in Somerset, an Iron Age hill fort with links to Arthurian legends. Others argue that Camelot was never meant to be a real place but a symbolic ideal, a utopia representing humanity's aspiration for justice, unity, and enlightenment. In this view, Camelot's power lies not in its physical existence, but in the values it inspires. Like Atlantis and other utopias, Camelot's story is one of greatness undone by human flaws. The court's ideals were shattered by betrayal, jealousy, and internal strife. The love affair between Lancelot and Queen Guinevere fractured the unity of the Round Table, while the ambition of Arthur's illegitimate son, Mordred, led to the kingdom's ultimate downfall. The climactic Battle of Camlan saw Arthur mortally wounded, his dreams of a unified Britain crumbling. Yet even in defeat, Camelot's legend endured. As Arthur was carried to Avalon, it was prophesied that he would return in Britain's hour of greatest need, a symbol of hope and renewal. Camelot has become an enduring symbol of human potential and frailty. Its ideals of chivalry, justice, and equality resonate across cultures and eras, influencing literature, film, and even modern leadership philosophies. From Tennyson's poetic visions in Idylls of the King, to the cinematic grandeur of Excalibur and the whimsical charm of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Camelot continues to capture the imagination. It serves as a reminder that while perfection may be unattainable, the pursuit of higher ideals is a journey worth undertaking. In the ancient world, there were two cities said to be so consumed by corruption that their very existence became a symbol of divine wrath. Sodom and Gomorrah, nestled in the fertile plains near the Dead Sea, are etched into history not for their splendor, but for their catastrophic end. But what truly happened to these cities? Were they historical places? And if so, what could have caused their fiery destruction? The story of Sodom and Gomorrah originates in the Bible's book of Genesis. These cities, located in the region of Canaan, were described as prosperous yet deeply immoral. Their wealth and abundance, fed by the fertile lands of the Jordan Valley, gave rise to unchecked indulgence and depravity. According to Genesis 18:19, God, disturbed by the city's widespread wickedness, sent 2 angels to investigate. Abraham, the patriarch, pleaded for the cities, asking if they could be spared if even 10 righteous people were found. But the angels found none, and the city's fate was sealed. The destruction was swift and apocalyptic. Fire and brimstone rained down from the heavens, reducing Sodom, Gomorrah, and the surrounding plain to ash. Only Lot, Abraham's nephew, and his family were spared. As they fled, Lot's wife disobeyed divine instructions not to look back and was turned into a pillar of salt, a poignant symbol of attachment to a doomed past. For centuries, scholars and archaeologists have debated the historical basis of Sodom and Gomorrah. While their exact locations remain uncertain, many theories place them near the southern end of the Dead Sea, where evidence of ancient settlements has been found. One compelling candidate is the archaeological site of Tall El Hammam in Jordan. Excavations have revealed a city that was obliterated around 1700 BCE by a catastrophic event. Analysis of the site suggests intense heat and pressure consistent with a meteor explosion, similar to the Tunguska event in Siberia in 1908. This has led some to speculate that the biblical account may be rooted in a real natural disaster. Another theory ties the city's destruction to seismic activity in the tectonically active Dead Sea Rift Valley. Earthquakes could have released flammable gases from underground deposits, igniting the fire and brimstone described in the Bible. If these cities were real, they likely thrived as part of a trade network linking Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Levant. Positioned near the Dead Sea, they would have benefited from the region's natural resources, including bitumen, which was highly valued in ancient construction, and waterproofing. The city's prosperity may have fostered a cosmopolitan culture, with diverse goods and ideas flowing through their markets. However, this wealth could also have contributed to social stratification and moral decay, as suggested by the biblical narrative. Hospitality was considered a sacred duty in the ancient Near East, and the inhabitants' disregard for this custom is central to their condemnation in Genesis. Imagine the daily life of a merchant in Sodom, haggling over spices and textiles in a bustling marketplace. Wealth flowed freely, but so did corruption, as greed, exploitation, and indulgence took hold. The cultural vibrancy of these cities may have been overshadowed by a lack of ethical restraint, a warning echoed in their eventual downfall. Sodom and Gomorrah's tale transcends its historical roots, serving as a profound moral allegory. In religious traditions, the cities symbolize the dangers of unchecked sin, pride, and neglect of the vulnerable. The story warns of the consequences of losing sight of communal responsibility and spiritual values. The destruction also carries themes of divine justice and mercy. Lot's rescue demonstrates that righteousness can be a saving grace, even in a corrupt world. Yet the severity of the punishment highlights the weight of collective guilt and the price of societal decay. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah has been interpreted and reinterpreted across centuries. While traditionally viewed as a condemnation of immorality, some scholars argue that the city's sin was primarily their failure to uphold hospitality and social justice. In modern times, the narrative has sparked controversy, particularly in discussions of sexual ethics and the misuse of the story to justify discrimination. Many religious and academic voices emphasize a broader interpretation, focusing on the city's moral and social failures rather than specific acts. The imagery of fire, brimstone, and divine judgment has left an indelible mark on literature, art, and popular culture. The phrase sodomite became a term laden with moral judgment, though its usage has evolved over time. In a broader sense, the story continues to resonate as a cautionary tale about the fragility of human civilization and the need for ethical stewardship. The tale also invites us to consider how modern societies reflect, or diverge from, the patterns that led to Sodom and Gomorrah's downfall. Are we repeating their mistakes, or can we learn from their legacy? In the 13th century, on the grassy steppes of modern-day Inner Mongolia, there once stood a city so grand it captured the imagination of explorers, poets, and emperors alike. Xanadu, the summer capital of Kublai Khan's vast empire, was a place where opulence and nature intertwined, and where the ruler of the Mongol Empire entertained visions of global conquest. Immortalized by Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem, this fabled city's true story is as fascinating as its legend. Xanadu, known to the Mongols as Shangdu, was established in 1256 by Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan. As the summer retreat of the Mongol ruler, it was designed to showcase the empire's wealth, cultural sophistication, and mastery over the lands they conquered. Strategically located north of Beijing, Xanadu served as both a political center and a cultural crossroads. It was here that Kublai Khan hosted foreign envoys, poets, and travelers, including the Venetian merchant Marco Polo, whose accounts introduced the city to Europe. Polo described Xanadu as a marvel of engineering and beauty, with palaces adorned in gold and silk and gardens that stretched endlessly under the open sky. Xanadu's layout was a reflection of the Mongols' nomadic heritage, combined with the sophistication of Chinese city planning. The city was divided into two main sections, an inner-walled palace complex and an outer city designed for commerce, administration, and leisure. At the heart of Xanadu stood Kublai Khan's summer palace, a sprawling structure constructed of wood and marble. The palace's roof was gilded in gold, catching the sunlight and making it visible for miles. Surrounding it were vast gardens inspired by traditional Chinese landscaping, featuring flowing rivers, artificial lakes, and carefully arranged groves of trees. But Xanadu was more than a stationary city. It was designed to accommodate the Mongols' nomadic lifestyle. Adjacent to the palace was a massive, portable tent known as the Great Tent of Kublai Khan. Made of richly embroidered fabrics, this tent allowed the Khan to conduct affairs of state while remaining connected to his people's nomadic roots. A day in Xanadu would have been a spectacle of luxury, culture, and diplomacy. The Mongol court was a vibrant blend of traditions, with influences from China, Persia, India, and beyond. Kublai Khan, an admirer of Chinese culture, embraced Confucian principles and employed Chinese scholars and artists in his court, blending Mongol and Han customs seamlessly. Nobles and courtiers dressed in silk robes feasting on a cuisine that reflected the diversity of the empire. Roast meats, dumplings, and fermented mare's milk, kumis, were staples, alongside imported delicacies like Persian dates and Indian spices. Musicians, dancers, and storytellers entertained the court with performances that showcased the artistic traditions of the vast Mongol Empire. Meanwhile, merchants traded silks, ceramics, and exotic goods in the bustling markets, bringing wealth and vibrancy to the city. As Kublai Khan's summer capital, Xanadu played a crucial role in the administration of his empire. The city was a meeting place for ambassadors, scholars, and advisors who helped govern one of the largest empires in history. Policies affecting vast territories, from the steppes of Mongolia to the shores of Southeast Asia, were debated and enacted here. Xanadu also served as a cultural bridge between East and West. It was a hub of innovation and exchange, where ideas, technologies, and art forms from different cultures mingled. This synthesis helped define the Yuan dynasty, the Chinese imperial line established by Kublai Khan. The decline of Xanadu. Despite its splendor, Xanadu's glory was short-lived. Following Kublai Khan's death in 1294, the Mongol Empire began to fragment. By the 14th century, the Yuan dynasty faced growing internal unrest and pressure from rival factions. In 1368, the Ming dynasty overthrew the Yuan and reclaimed China. Xanadu, seen as a symbol of Mongol rule, was abandoned and eventually fell into ruin. Time and nature reclaimed the site, leaving behind only fragments of its once majestic structures. Xanadu's legend owes much to Marco Polo's vivid descriptions, but it was Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem, Kublai Khan, that immortalized the city in Western imagination. Written in 1797, the poem begins with the iconic lines, "In Xanadu did Kublai Khan, a stately pleasure-dome decree." Coleridge's vision of Xanadu as a mystical, otherworldly paradise has shaped how the city is remembered, blending historical fact with romantic fantasy. In 2002, the archaeological site of Shangdu was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Excavations have revealed the foundations of the city's walls, the palace complex, and its intricate waterworks. These findings provide a glimpse into the ingenuity and grandeur of the Mongol Empire. Today, the ruins of Xanadu are a quiet reminder of a time when the world's most powerful ruler envisioned a city that embodied his empire's wealth, culture, and ambition. Xanadu represents more than just a lost city. It symbolizes the blending of nomadic and settled lifestyles, the meeting of East and West, and the heights of cultural achievement under the Mongol Empire. Its story reminds us of the impermanence of even the greatest civilizations and the enduring power of human creativity and ambition. In the vast, inhospitable expanse of the Sahara Desert, where shifting sands conceal secrets older than recorded history, there is said to lie a city of wonders. Zerzura, the fabled oasis of little birds, has captured the imaginations of explorers and dreamers for centuries. With its white walls, hidden treasures, and mysterious guardians, the story of Zerzura is as much a tale of human resilience as it is of discovery and loss. The first written account of Zerzura appears in a 13th century Arabic manuscript called Kitab al-Kanus, the Book of Hidden Treasures, which describes a white city deep in the desert. The city was said to be guarded by black giants and filled with riches, including gold, jewels, and a magical key that opened its gates. Over time, the legend of Zerzura spread among Bedouin tribes, who whispered of a paradise hidden amid the barren dunes. The oasis was described as a place of lush greenery, freshwater pools and date palms, offering respite to those who found it. To some, it was a real city waiting to be discovered. To others, it was a metaphor for salvation in one of the world's harshest environments. If Zerzura existed, where might it have been? The Sahara's sheer size, covering 9.2 million square kilometers, makes locating a lost city an almost impossible task. Most theories place Zerzura in the Libyan desert, a remote region marked by vast sand seas, rugged plateaus, and hidden valleys. The region is also home to ancient wadis, dry riverbeds, and hidden springs, where small temporary oases could have provided life-sustaining water. Some researchers believe Zerzura might have been one of these natural havens, its legend growing over time as stories passed between traders and nomads. In the 20th century, the quest for Zerzura became a fascination for European explorers. Among the most famous was Hungarian adventurer Laszlo Almásy, whose desert expeditions in the 1930s sought to unravel the mystery. Almásy, immortalized in Michael Ondaatje's novel The English Patient, discovered uncharted wadis and prehistoric rock art, but found no definitive evidence of Zerzura. However, his explorations revealed the complexity of the Libyan desert, from its hidden caves to its ancient caravan routes. These discoveries suggested that even in such a harsh landscape, human life and culture had once thrived. Other explorers, such as Ralph Bagnold and Patrick Clayton, used new technologies like aerial photography to map the desert's features, further fueling speculation about Zerzura's possible location. Despite their efforts, the city remained elusive, leaving behind only tantalizing hints. To imagine life in Zerzura is to conjure a blend of practicality and mystique. The city would have been an oasis of survival, with freshwater springs supporting gardens of date palms, figs, and pomegranates. The people of Zerzura, if they existed, may have been skilled desert traders using the city as a waypoint on ancient trans-Saharan routes. Caravans carrying salt, gold, and exotic goods might have paused here, exchanging wares and stories. The city's architecture, with its legendary white walls, suggests a sense of permanence and prosperity, a stark contrast to the ever-changing sands beyond. The mention of treasures in the legend raises intriguing questions. Could Zerzura have been a repository of wealth from a lost civilization? Or was its treasure more symbolic, representing knowledge, water, or sanctuary in an unforgiving land? Zerzura's legend is steeped in mystery, from its enigmatic guardians to its magical key. The black giants who protected the city are often interpreted as mythical beings, perhaps meant to dissuade trespassers or symbolize the city's unattainability. The key, described in the Kitab al-Kanuz, was said to unlock the city's gates and its secrets. Some have speculated that the key represents an understanding of the desert itself, a metaphorical guide to survival in one of the world's most challenging environments. While Zerzura remains undiscovered, archaeological evidence supports the idea of lost desert settlements. Ancient rock art in the Libyan desert depicts scenes of pastoral life, including cattle herding and water rituals, suggesting that parts of the Sahara were once fertile. Sites like Uwainat and the Gilf Kabir Plateau reveal traces of prehistoric human habitation, including tools and burial sites. These findings hint at a time when the Sahara was more hospitable, and small communities could have thrived in isolated oases. Whether real or imagined, Zerzura represents the human desire to find meaning and hope in the unknown. For desert nomads, it may have symbolized the ultimate refuge, a beacon of life in a hostile environment. For explorers, it was a challenge, a mystery that defied explanation. In a broader sense, Zerzura reminds us of the resilience required to navigate life's deserts, literal and metaphorical. Its story is a testament to the interplay between geography and imagination, and the ways in which legends can inspire exploration and discovery. Off the rugged coast of Brittany, where waves crash against jagged rocks and mist hangs heavy over the sea, there is a legend of a city that once defied the ocean itself. Wise, a magnificent city of beauty and innovation, is said to have been swallowed by the sea as punishment for its people's hubris. But what was Wise? A moral tale, a historical memory, or a glimpse into the fragile relationship between humanity and nature? The tale of Wise originates in Breton folklore, passed down through oral tradition before being recorded in the Middle Ages. Wise was described as a city of unparalleled splendor, built on the Bay of Douarnenez off the coast of Brittany. Protected by massive dikes, the city thrived despite being situated below sea level, a feat of engineering that mirrored humanity's ambition to tame nature. The city was said to have been founded by Gradlon, a legendary king of Brittany. Gradlon's daughter, Dahut, plays a central role in the legend. While Wise flourished, Dahut's hedonistic and reckless behavior is said to have led to its downfall. According to the most common version of the story, Dahut stole the keys to the city's floodgates and opened them, allowing the sea to rush in and consume Wise. Gradlon escaped the disaster on horseback, guided by a divine voice. He looked back only once to see his beloved city disappear beneath the waves, leaving behind a haunting legacy. To picture Wise is to imagine a city that combined technological ingenuity with artistic brilliance. Its streets were paved with stone, its buildings adorned with gold and jewels, and its harbors teeming with ships from distant lands. The city's wealth stemmed from trade, with merchants bringing spices, silks, and exotic goods to its bustling markets. The most striking feature of Wise was its dikes and floodgates, which kept the encroaching sea at bay. These engineering marvels symbolized the city's defiance of nature, a triumph of human ingenuity over the elements. In the evenings, Wise would have been alive with music, dance, and celebration. The people, believing themselves invincible, indulged in luxuries and excesses, but beneath the city's glittering surface lay the seeds of its destruction. The catalyst of Wise's fall, Dahut, often portrayed as a complex and tragic figure, embodies the duality of human nature. In some versions of the legend, she is a cunning and ambitious woman who sought power at any cost. In others, she is a victim of circumstance, corrupted by outside forces or by her own isolation. Dahut's fatal act of opening the floodgates was driven by a mix of rebellion and carelessness. Some versions suggest she was seduced by a demon who tricked her into unlocking the gates. Others imply she was driven by a desire to challenge her father's authority or to unleash chaos. Whatever her motivations, her actions sealed Wise's fate, turning it from a city of prosperity to a cautionary tale of hubris. In Breton culture, the sea is both a giver and taker of life, a powerful and unpredictable force. The story of Wise reflects this relationship, with the ocean serving as both protector and destroyer. The city's reliance on its dikes was its greatest strength, but also its fatal weakness. The legend speaks to the fragility of human creations in the face of natural forces. No matter how advanced or prosperous a society becomes, it remains vulnerable to the power of the earth. Scholars have long debated whether Wise was inspired by real events. Some suggest it may echo memories of submerged settlements along the Breton coast, lost to rising sea levels or catastrophic storms. The geography of the region, with its dramatic tides and history of coastal erosion, lends plausibility to such theories. Others see Wise as a moral allegory, reflecting the medieval worldview that linked moral decay with divine punishment. The story parallels other flood myths, such as the biblical tale of Noah or the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, highlighting humanity's universal fear of water as a destructive force. Local folklore claims that on quiet nights, the bells of Wise can still be heard ringing beneath the waves, a ghostly reminder of the city's former glory. This haunting image has inspired poets, musicians, and artists who view Wise as a symbol of loss, longing, and the inexorable passage of time. Wise continues to resonate as a story of ambition, beauty, and the consequences of human excess. Its tale has been adapted into operas, novels, and films, each retelling exploring new dimensions of the myth. The city also serves as a metaphor for humanity's complex relationship with nature, our ability to create and destroy, to innovate and to overreach. In modern times, the story of Wise takes on new relevance in discussions of climate change and rising sea levels. It reminds us of the importance of respecting the natural world and the limits of human control. Beneath our feet, hidden in the depths of the earth, lies a world that has fascinated mystics, explorers, and theorists for centuries. Known as Agartha, this legendary subterranean realm is said to be home to an advanced civilization, illuminated not by the sun, but by a mysterious inner light. But is Agartha purely a myth, or could it hold secrets that challenge our understanding of reality itself? the concept of Agartha has roots in ancient traditions and esoteric teachings. While not directly named in early texts, the idea of a hidden world beneath the surface of the earth appears in Hindu, Buddhist, and Tibetan lore. Agartha became more widely known in the 19th and 20th centuries, thanks to Western occultists and explorers who wove together various myths into a cohesive narrative. The name Agartha was popularized by Alexandre Saint-Yves d'Alvèdre, a French occultist, who claimed in the late 1800s that the subterranean kingdom was a utopia ruled by a wise and benevolent king. According to Saint-Yves, Agartha was connected to the surface by secret tunnels and protected by advanced technology. In Buddhist tradition, the hidden realm is often associated with Shambhala, a mystical kingdom tied to spiritual enlightenment. Some interpretations suggest that Agartha and Shambhala are two facets of the same myth, representing inner and outer journeys to enlightenment. Descriptions of Agartha vary widely, but most accounts depict it as a vast, hollow world, filled with lush landscapes, advanced cities, and a central light source that mimics the sun. This inner sun is said to sustain life, creating a world where flora, fauna, and even humans thrive in harmony. The entrances to Agartha are said to be hidden in remote locations around the globe, including the North and South Poles, the Himalayas, and even under ancient monuments like the Sphinx or Mount Shasta in California. These gateways, according to legend, are guarded by powerful forces or require spiritual purity to access. Agartha is often described as a utopian society where wisdom, peace, and advanced technology coexist. Its inhabitants, sometimes referred to as the Elder Race, are said to have transcended war, greed, and suffering, living in perfect balance with their environment. Towers of crystalline materials reaching toward the glowing inner sun, streets alive with the hum of clean energy systems, and citizens moving through the city with a quiet purpose. Knowledge and creativity flourish as the inhabitants dedicate their lives to philosophy, art, and scientific discovery. In some accounts, Agartha's people are telepathic and capable of immense spiritual power. They are said to guide humanity subtly, influencing our spiritual evolution without direct interference. Some theories even suggest that they are the remnants of lost civilizations, such as Atlantis or Lemuria, who retreated underground to escape cataclysmic events. The idea of a hollow Earth gained scientific traction in the 17th and 18th centuries, when notable figures like Edmund Halley proposed that the Earth might consist of concentric spheres. While modern geology has debunked the hollow Earth theory, the concept has persisted in popular culture and fringe science. In the early 20th century, Admiral Richard E. Byrd, a pioneering polar explorer, reportedly wrote about strange phenomena during his expeditions to the Arctic and Antarctic. Some interpretations of his diaries claim he encountered entrances to Agartha, though these accounts are widely considered apocryphal. Agartha has also been linked to Nazi mysticism, with rumors that the Third Reich sought the mythical land in their quest for occult power. These stories, while sensational, remain unsubstantiated and controversial. Many scholars argue that Agartha is less a physical place and more a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment. The journey to Agartha represents the inward quest for knowledge, self-discovery, and harmony with the universe. The idea of a hidden, perfect world mirrors humanity's longing for a utopia, a place where all our aspirations for peace and progress are realized. In this sense, the entrances to Agartha could be seen as gateways within ourselves, accessible through meditation, discipline, and spiritual growth. Agartha's influence is pervasive in literature, film, and esoteric traditions. From Jules Verne's journey to the center of the earth to modern interpretations in science fiction and fantasy, the concept of an underground world captivates our imagination. Even if Agartha is purely mythical, its story challenges us to think about what lies beyond our understanding. It invites questions about the mysteries of our planet, the possibilities of lost civilizations, and the potential for humanity to create a better world. Deep in the heart of Russia, where tranquil lakes reflect endless skies, there is said to be a city that disappeared beneath the water to protect itself from destruction. Kitezh, the mythical, invisible city, is a tale of faith, sacrifice, and divine intervention. But what lies beneath its serene surface? A memory of a real place, or a legend woven from dreams of spiritual transcendence. The story of Kitezh originates in Russian folklore, particularly in the 18th century chronicle known as the Kitezh Chronicle. It tells of two cities, Small Kitezh, built on the Volga River, and Great Kitezh, located near Lake Svetloya in present-day Nizhny Novgorod Oblast. Prince Yuri II of Vladimir founded both cities in the 13th century, according to the legend. Small Kitezh was a fortress, strategically positioned for defense, while Great Kitezh was a spiritual sanctuary free from walls and fortifications. It was said that Great Kitezh's people lived in harmony with nature, their faith so profound that they needed no physical protection. When the Mongol armies led by Batu Khan invaded Russia, they attacked Small Kitezh, overwhelming its defenses. Survivors fled to Great Kitezh, leading the Mongols to the sacred city. But as the invaders approached, something miraculous happened. The city was said to sink into Lake Svetloya, hidden forever beneath its waters. The disappearance of Kitezh was not one of fear, but of divine intervention. According to the legend, the waters of the lake rose to shield the city from destruction, preserving it for eternity. The Mongols, reaching the shore of Lake Svetloya, saw no sign of the city. Local folklore adds a haunting touch. Those who visit the lake on quiet nights may hear the faint tolling of church bells from beneath the water, or see the lights of Kitezh shimmering in its depths. The lake's unusually clear and still waters have only fueled the mystique surrounding the city. To imagine life in Great Kitezh is to envision a society devoted to faith, simplicity, and spiritual unity. The people of Kitezh were said to live humbly, their lives centered around prayer, communal worship, and reverence for the natural world. The city itself was described as a place of wooden churches with onion domes that glistened in the sunlight, homes built in harmony with the surrounding forests, and streets where peace reigned. Unlike other cities of the time, there were no walls or weapons, as the inhabitants believed their spiritual purity would protect them from harm. Daily life in Kitezh revolved around seasonal rhythms, with farmers tending to fields and artisans crafting icons and tools. Music and chants filled the air, and festivals celebrating faith and the harvest brought the community together. The city's harmony with its environment mirrored its inhabitants' inner tranquility. Kitezh is more than a story of survival, it's a profound spiritual metaphor. The city's sinking represents humanity's retreat from material concerns into a realm of divine protection and enlightenment. For believers, Kitezh symbolizes the triumph of faith over violence and the idea that true sanctuary lies in spiritual devotion. In Russian Orthodoxy, the story of Kitezh resonates deeply, reflecting themes of martyrdom, self-sacrifice, and the belief in miracles. The city's invisibility underscores the idea that the divine is not always visible to the worldly, but is accessible to the faithful and pure-hearted. The search for Kitezh Lake Svetloya, the supposed site of Great Kitezh, has become a destination for pilgrims, explorers, and researchers. Known as Russia's Atlantis, the lake holds a deep spiritual significance for many Russians. Pilgrims often walk around the lake in prayer, hoping to hear the bells of Kitezh or catch a glimpse of its reflection in the water. Scientific investigations have examined the lake's geological and hydrological features, searching for evidence of submerged structures. While no definitive proof of Kitezh has been found, the lake's unusual properties, such as its shape and clarity, continue to intrigue researchers and fuel speculation. Some historians suggest that Kitezh might represent an amalgamation of real events and spiritual ideals. The Mongol invasions were a devastating period for Russia, and the story of Kitezh may reflect a collective longing for divine protection and the preservation of cultural identity. The legend of Kitezh has inspired countless works of art, music, and literature. One of the most famous is Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov's opera, The Legend of the Invisible City of Kitezh and the Maiden Fevronia, which portrays the city as a mystical paradise and a symbol of spiritual resilience. Kitezh also holds a unique place in Russian cultural identity, representing the interplay between the material and the spiritual, the real and the imagined. In a broader sense, it speaks to humanity's desire to create sanctuaries, both physical and metaphysical, that endure beyond the turmoil of the outside world. Even today, visitors to Lake Svetloya claim to experience moments of uncanny serenity, as though the lake itself holds the memory of the city. Stories of bell tolls, ghostly lights, and unexplainable calm reinforce the belief that Kitezh continues to exist in some form, waiting to reveal itself to those deemed worthy. Each city, in its own way, has left an indelible mark on the human imagination. These tales remind us that our stories, whether born of history, myth, or a blend of both, are a reflection of our collective dreams and values. They push us to explore, to question, and to imagine. While we may never uncover the full truth of these cities, their legacy endures as a testament to humanity's boundless curiosity and creativity. So, as we close this chapter, let us carry their lessons with us, to respect the balance of nature, to seek enlightenment, to value justice, and to cherish the mysteries that make life endlessly fascinating. Thanks for spending time with us today. Feel free to drop a like and leave a comment below, and subscribe and share with anyone who could be interested. Until next time, my dear spooker, stay curious.